Loha Ransen's final testimony and appeal before his ultimate sacrifice. This is translated in English. Quote, "What I want to say is that Communist China's policies and activities in Tibet are targeted at completely destroying the Tibetan people. I have nothing to say towards the Tibetan people inside Tibet. They have been working sincerely to preserve our spoken language, religion, and culture, and revive all that has declined. Their efforts are very noteworthy. Therefore, I want to thank them. I don't have anything else to say to them. But I want to share my opinion to those of us in exile. If we don't do anything for the struggle of our people, we'll get nothing. I want to say that those of us in exile, we need to work harder. We are very grateful to His Holiness the Dalai Lama for giving us democracy, which he handed to us without us having to make any effort. Even though we said that we do not want it, His Holiness the Dalai Lama granted us standard-worthy democracy. His Holiness's gift of democracy is not for us to have internal disunity, but to continue the struggle of the Tibetan people and Tibet as a nation in the hope that there will be advancement. In particular, His Holiness has said in the past that those of us living in exile, those of us living in the US, it is shameful to become complacent in exile simply after owning a house and a car. You are all the spokespersons of Tibetan people inside Tibet, and therefore you should work and continue the struggle for the Tibetan people. His Holiness won't be able to say more than that, as he's a Buddha who works for unity and harmony of all people, irrespective of color, religion, and world peace. But we're not Buddha, we're living beings. Today, what I have to say is that the Chinese communists have chopped us Tibetans, all irrespective of whether we belong to Dode, Dome, or Uta. We're all Tibetans. Therefore, we should work for the Tibetan nation. We should work for the people of Tibet. Today, when we say that we do not have human rights, that we do not have freedom of speech, that we do not have the freedom to display a portrait of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if we examine why we do not have these freedoms, it is because we lost our independence of Tibet. That is why from today onwards, whether it is the Tibetan government, the Tibetan parliament, or the people, it is important that we should all be united and work for the struggle of Tibetan nation and Tibetan people. Therefore, from today onwards, without arguing about our province or religious denominations, we should think of ourselves as Tibetans. I am Tibetan. I am a Tibetan. Some of us say that we do not have independence. It's not that we do not have independence. We have independence, but the independence is lost. We have to get it back. Therefore, we Tibetans in exile must unite and continue the struggle for the independence of Tibet. I want to appeal with folded hands our exile community to work towards this. Secondly, today, if I undertake a major action on account of that example, in the next few days, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 91st birthday is coming up. Its celebration, as well as Tibetan cultural performances, are to safeguard our culture. These have health benefits and also greatly benefit our younger generation. So my undertaking and action should not cause any disturbances to the celebration of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday. Please celebrate His Holiness the Dalai Lama's birthday in the grandest way possible. Likewise, those who are performing songs and dances should continue to do so. They should not stop them. They should not mourn. What they need to do, in addition to considering that one is a Tibetan, one should see what can be done for the Tibetan people and nation. It is important to think in this way. Therefore, I appeal all of you to work even harder. Today, if I engage in an alarming activism, it's not that I do not have food, clothes, or out of depression. I do it for the Tibetan nation. Since I'm doing it for the cause of Tibet nation, whatever is necessary to be done for the cause of the Tibet nation must all be continued. I don't want you to mourn for me. Instead, there should be a continuation of my hope and appeal. Please consider my appeal. Whatever we say we do not have, what's the reason for that? The source of all this is because we don't have independence. Because we lost our independence. If we regain independence, we will have everything. Therefore, what we need is independence. And for that, all of us should continue the struggle. Victory to independence of Tibet. Victory to Tibet. Pergalo! Perantengalo! Pergalo! Perantengalo! Pergalo!
to us tonight. Team Prostration for Tibet spent the last 2 days prostrating from Prospect Park, Brooklyn, finishing right here at Times Square in sacred honor of their journey and the memory of our martyrs. Let us join together in showing them our deepest respect. I call them to pay their kata to Paolo Garantella's portrait. I would like to request Jimmy Ogela, President of TNC, to offer a scarf for them for their contribution. If you want to know more about them, you can go visit their website. It's called www.tibetlearning.com. Please search for that for more information. We are honored to welcome distinguished leaders from our city who have just joined tonight to pay their respect. Please join me in welcoming TLC Commissioner Valdivia, Assistant Commissioner Chen, Junior Lieutenant Abu Radeh, as they step forward to lead a candle and honor the memory and portrait for Paolo Garantella.
Everyone sit down, please.
And a very big thank you to the TLC leadership, because Cholo Garante, he was an Uber driver, and the TLC leadership, they're standing for their employee, Garantella.
We are deeply honored to have Assembly Member Catalina Cruz representing Queens District 39. Assembly Member Cruz, podium is yours.
Tonight I join you with a heavy heart as we honor the life. I wanted to make sure that I'm honoring his name by pronouncing it correctly, so feel free to correct me. Paolo Ranzanan? Yes. Okay, I did it correctly. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel coming here and seeing so many people honoring his sacrifice today. It tugs at your heart because it makes you think of the life that he led, the life that you had to leave behind, and the life that many people of Tibet are still living. I was asked to chant something, and I want you to follow me when I say it. Right. Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! You come to this country in search of opportunity and that freedom that was denied to you in the country that you were born in, and we are going to call it a country no matter what China tries to do or say. That is his sacrifice, that was his ask, and that is how we are going to treat you. I represent Elmhurst, where he called it home, where he worked, where he fought, and we are going to miss him in our neighborhood. And the only thing I ask of you today is to continue to do this. Show up for the people of Tibet. Show up for him. Show up for fighting for a free Tibet. Thank you for the honor of being a part of this beautiful demonstration of love toward his sacrifice and to the country that called you Tibetan. You will always be Tibetan. Thank you. May he rest in the peace that was denied to him in the country where he was born. Thank you. Thank you. Free Tibet.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member Catalina Cruz. She represented where I was staying before for another 12 years. I stayed at Almas, so thank you. We are deeply privileged to have with us Javier Nubula scholar, founder of TNC, and a tireless voice for.
You must forgive me because I really don't know what to say. It's not often I'm sort of, struck dumb or anything, but it's been a really, really difficult time for me because Lobka, he had many friends in the Tibetan community, but he and I, politically, for the sake of Tibetan independence, for activism, we were best buddies. Nearly every day he would come and he'd have some idea, sometimes a mad idea, sometimes a good one. So it's really hard for me to say very much. The day that he passed away, I get this call from Dikila and the police want to see me. They say, who's in charge? And I'm the founder of the Tibetan National Congress. He's the
New York, New Jersey. It's been one of the greatest privilege and honor of my life to work along our chapter president Paul Logoranten. I first joined TNC because he personally asked me to, because he believed fiercely that the youth must take the lead in the struggle for independence. With his deep devotion to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and his unwavering commitment to Tibetan independence, he inspired me and so many of us to dedicate ourselves fully to Tibet, following a generation of freedom fighters in my own family. His final message before making the ultimate sacrifice in front of United Nations was a stark reminder why Tibetans are in exile, because our nation was stolen from us by the Chinese government. He gave everything to ensure we never forgot the truth. As many of us know, Paul Logoranten lived the moment every single day. In the back of his trunk, he always kept a box of Independent Tibet, the fact booklet by scholar Javier Nubula. This is the one, in Tibetan and in English. This is what he has in his car trunk, a box of book. Alongside a traditional chupa and the Tibetan national flag, ready for action at a moment's notice. He grounded everything he did in absolute reverence for His Holiness, but his heart was always with the youth. Paul Logoranten didn't just want us to attend events, but he wants us to take the lead. Tonight, as we gather in the heart of New York, surrounded by friends, allies, and the freedom fighter from around the world, we are not just mourning a loss. We are mourning a hero, carrying forward his vision, proving the flames of independence will never be extinguished. Let us stand united. Let us pledge to carry his flame forward as one Tibetan voice. Thank you all. Let us begin our program. We will now honor the Tibetan national anthem followed by the American national anthem. Please everyone rise. 참말로 안가조 드링기 레자 상마 인지도네 인고에 겸센디 치로 미 망보지 안가조 덴데슈 아니 되게 돌아 고도 가족이 마 빼토나 치제 안가조기 레자 상마 인지도네 티교이 아니 칸즈네 탄다 타임스코에 담고에 덴데 겸세 덴데이 아니 되게 민도 마서로 나한테 되게 인지디 칸즈니 쓰고 인지슈 아 참말로 갈로 고스시나 티서레 정말 슈데나 자로나 it's a silent march. We're going from Times Square to United Nations. So it's just a silent. Please pray inside your heart. And we're going to march to the United Nations where Paulo Arantes sacrificed himself for our nation.
His name was Lobsang then, but we know, loved and remember him as Lobgarangzen. He was born in Zakok Tihor Kham in occupied Tibet. After escaping into exile, he dedicated his life to the cause of Tibet. He organized protests, led marches, walks, educational sessions and car rallies, and knocked on the doors of those in power, lobbied elected officials, mobilized our community, and never stopped fighting for Tibet's independence. For my uncle, Tibet was not a cause, it was his life's purpose. He lived for Tibet every single day, and in the end, he gave his life for Tibet. On July 2nd, my uncle walked to the United Nations dressed in traditional Tibetan clothing and carrying a Tibetan national flag. He planted that flag firmly and raised the words, "Free Tibet" and "China out of Tibet," even when his body was engulfed in flames. Through his final act, my uncle awakened something powerful. He reminded Tibetans everywhere that we share one homeland, one history, and one responsibility. And his message to the Chinese government was clear, that we have not forgotten who we are or our land, our language, our faith, and our history. And over 70 years of occupation and repression have not broken the Tibetan spirit. For more than 7 decades, China has waged, "Look away and silence yourself about Tibet." For too long, Tibetans have suffered while the world remained silent. 171 Tibetans have self-immolated, crying out for freedom and begging the world to witness what is happening inside Tibet. Their sacrifices were not acts to be forgotten. These are the highest level of non-violent political protest that appeal for justice, dignity, and survival of our nation. And to my Tibetan brothers and sisters, we now carry our responsibility. Let us
Tibet. Decades ago, and over 168 people had died. She wrote this poem called "I Will Burn Myself Again and Again." This is Sungshuki. It goes like this. Are my grasslands still green? Are my blue lakes still crystal clear? Do my hills and streams still sing their melodious songs? Great gods of Tibet, do you still see them in your vision? Can all the bloody crimes of the world be burned and transformed by the heat of fire? Who is sucking the blood and marrow from my body? Who is erasing the bloody images on my chest? Who dug up and desecrated my father's grave before my very eyes? Who cut the life force from my mother's tongue? How can I accept and tolerate all this? The body of flesh cannot be lifted by the mind. The pain of the wounded heart cannot be endured anymore. Yesterday, the ancestral land of my dream, destroyed by an army of bandits. Today, my precious mother made shamefully naked before my eyes. Tomorrow, my children's brains and bones savagely scattered about. I cannot submit to this anymore. From now on, aim the bullets of the many thousand guns only at me. Inflict all the most painful beatings and tortures only on me. Furthermore, direct all your persecution and tyranny only on me. I offer you the full measure of my life forever, and I assume full responsibility for this commitment. From today, please treasure the custom and heritage of my lineage. Take care of the purity of my land and environment. Respect the life force of my mother tongue. Give freedom to all my humble brothers and sisters. This is the last testament written with my blood. Because of necessity, it is my goal to burn myself forever. So let me accomplish this. All my brothers and sisters, young and old, living in misery and sorrow, all people throughout the world who have freedom and peace, and to you tyrants of violence, oppression and torture. What I want is lasting peace and freedom. What I am searching for is an existence of equality and caring. Until I accomplish this, I will burn myself again and again. Sungshuki, 2005. Thank you very much. Again, 네 소축기승에 아는 암도 내년에 개별 모습 개보죠. 대상 오스트레일리아 쉬어요. 프랑스 좀디 아주 표현하는 미세 મં구시 중디 비디 좀나데 니 차상로 투베메 제 넘버 중에 하다 페이스북 캠페인에 자면 넘버 캠페인 디 차상 요 디밍 녀가 디밍 가르서 나 양내 양도 바르도스 그래서 나도 로컬한 신 탱매직 반내 되게 말해 넘버 템만 나와 나도 미리 유니오시 세상 어서 깔아야 되고 미시그레 미초라도 그래 쟤는 나한테 미규라예요 말해 나도 돈다다요 도잖아 별게로
Leaders of Hong Kong democracy movement and a leading voice for freedom and human rights. As a student leader of the 2014 Umbrella movement, he inspired millions. Today, he continued to advocate for the people of Hong Kong on the international stage, reminding the world the struggle for freedom knows no borders. Alex.
Our friends from Tibet. I will have to acknowledge that it is very difficult to come to this stage and to come up with any words to share with you. Because if it is a protest, we could rally to the Chinese embassy, we could change, we could see like one CCP down. But the context of this rally is just too heavy. With a dear Tibetan community member engaging in self-immolation, even I myself, I think it takes time to process. And I can't even imagine like what is the most appropriate word to show support, to walk alongside with our Tibetan friends. I think that's my biggest concern. I think like my presence today is not to like a rally for any action because I feel like I'm in no position to do that because like well, each of you being here today, being present at the Times Square, waving a flag, chanting Hello Lookout, Ransal Steam, is already exemplifying the spirit of our dear friend who want all of us to continue the fight until the day CCP is gone, until the day Tibet is free. I remember the day when our dear friend engaged in self-immolation. I was actually technically about to schedule an interview to talk to one of the Tibetan community members, to ask them, to learn from them how the Tibetan community in exile can be that resilient, and in what way.
The roots of the Tibetan people run deep into the bedrock of the plateau. They rise again into our sacred mountains, where our deities still reside and are continuing to protect us. I think they're calling us to fight for them, for the land, for the mountains, for the Dharma, and not just because it's good for us, but because it benefits all the world around us too. And I know it may sound far-fetched from where we stand right now, but I'm certain the Tibetan people and the Tibetan nation will outlast this horror of China's occupation. We will outlast the Chinese Communist Party's rule in Tibet has ever seen, and we're still standing. How? With sheer grit, total determination, deep faith, and true compassion. If we're determined to fight for our rights and freedom and for our language and for our right to be Buddhists and to worship the Dalai Lama when the time, whatever may come, they can't stop us. It's up to us. It's completely up to us. And Lobka Rangzin knew this. And when I think about how to honor his sacrifice, I find myself looking at the life he lived, his devotion to serving the nation and the cause of Tibetan independence, and to his final words, which told us to recommit ourselves to unity, to work harder to get along, to keep celebrating and practicing Tibetan culture, to continue to struggle for the liberation of our homeland. And now the greatest way we can honor his sacrifice is to answer the call. Take action every day.
The ultimate sacrifice for Tibet, his precious life. Today, we all know Paul Rangzen was a tireless advocate for Tibetan independence. And we remember him today. We also remember the message he left us. He called on Tibetans to stand in unity, to do what each of us can, in whatever way we can, for Tibet. That message feels even more urgent today. As we all know, the Chinese Communist Party has now put into law the systematic oppression that Tibetans have experienced for decades through the so-called genocidal ethnic unity and progress law. The CCP seeks to accelerate efforts to dismantle Tibetan identity by targeting our language, our culture, and the values that have sustained our people for generations. A people, a nation cannot survive if they are separated from their language, their history, and who they are. And the Chinese Communist Party knows this. Tibetans inside Tibet have long felt the weight of this urgency and have sounded the alarm time and time again. In the past few decades alone, there have been over 170 Tibetans who have resorted to self-immolation in desperate protest, each seeking to draw the world's attention to Tibet and to galvanize global action. Our response, therefore, must be unity. We must strengthen our communities, protect our language, preserve our culture, and ensure that the next generation grows up knowing what it means to be Tibetan. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has always shown us the path forward with compassion, with non-violence, and with the belief that our shared humanity is stronger than oppression. Those principles must continue to guide us as we face the long task ahead. Today, the greatest way that we can honor Paul Rangzen is not only by remembering his sacrifice, but by answering his call. I ask Tibetans everywhere to stand together, to stand united. I ask governments and international community not to remain silent as Tibetan identity is systematically dismantled. Long live His Holiness the Dalai Lama! Long live His Holiness the Dalai Lama! Long live His Holiness the Dalai Lama!
Free Tibet! Free Tibet!
Taken by something that was said over and over again that I want to say tonight. That we honor him by carrying forward the message he asked the world never to forget. Napoyayin. 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 I am a Tibetan. I am a Tibetan. I am a Tibetan. Thank you. Thank you. I want to want to share you one other thing, and I didn't know if I was going to say this, but I do feel like saying it now. I had a bit of a daydream a few days ago, and it was about His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And His Holiness was solid, and he glowed, but he was expanding into Dharmakaya. The body wasn't so important anymore. And I had this very clear vision that we were becoming his body. We were becoming his hands. We were becoming his feet. We were becoming his tongue, his mind, his heart. And that is our responsibility. What we've taken from him now, we have to act on in the world with his strength and his power and his skills and his capacities. I am a Tibetan. I'm a follower of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I'm a follower of Shakyamuni Buddha. And I will act. I will act. I will make His Holiness proud of me by acting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. To offer tonight's closing address and to reaffirm our shared commitment to Tibetan independence, please welcome Mr. Jigme Gila, President of Tibetan National Congress. Please welcome him.
Before I start, I'd like to first acknowledge defenders, and we will post that on our social media. My name is Jigme, and I serve as the president of the Tibetan National Congress. Paul Logaranze was the president of the Tibetan National Congress chapter of New York, New Jersey. And I want to start by appreciating the young organizers of the Tibetan Youth Congress, New York, New Jersey, for organizing this vigil, for getting support from 7 different organizations across New York, and making sure that Tibet's voice is heard from the loudest and the busiest pedestrian crossing in the world. For more than 70 years, Tibetans have been told to accept the unacceptable. We were told that China's occupation is permanent, that Tibetan independence is unrealistic, and that we must lower our expectation, soften our language, and adjust our political demands to what the global governments find convenient. The world asked Tibetans to be patient. We waited. We waited and we waited. And while we waited, China used that time to kill over 1.5 million Tibetans, separated over 1 million children, some as young as 4 years old, from their language, identity, and their families, and put them in colonial boarding schools. They took time to control our monasteries, rewrite our history, erase our language, and every foundation of the Tibetan way of life. This is why Paul Logaranzen believed that the loss of independence was the root of Tibet's suffering. Without political freedom, every other right is weak and can be dismissed. Paul Logaranzen, a lifelong independence activist, sacrificed his life to end that occupation and restore Tibet's independence. Too often, the international community reduces Tibet to a human rights or religious right issues. Governments sometimes express concerns about political prisoners, even colonial boarding schools, and the destruction of Tibetan culture, but refuse to confront the political cause behind all of this, that Tibet is an occupied country and that Tibetans have been denied the right to determine their own future. The United Nations knows that. The governments know that. Political leaders know that. The silence is not caused by the lack of information, but by the lack of courage. These governments have treated China's occupation as normal and expects Tibetans to adjust and accept it. This has been China's greatest victories, and China makes us believe that our resistance is futile and that our freedom is impossible. Paul Logarangzen rejected that lie and that fake narrative. He sacrificed outside the United Nations the most recognized address in the whole planet because he wanted the folks in that institution to not look away and no longer say that we don't know what's happening in Tibet. He made the most extreme and unimaginable non-violent sacrifice after years of peaceful appeals that have been ignored, dismissed by every door of power. This was his wake-up call to the world. This was a call to the citizens of the world. This and the 170 self-immolations prior to that was a message to the world that Tibet is still under some of the most draconian policies under the Chinese occupation. So, how long can the world choose to look away and ignore the 171 human beings who burn themselves to use their own bodies as evidence? How long can the United Nations and governments hide behind weak and useless statements? How long can politicians and activists who claim to oppose occupation, genocide, and oppression lose their moral courage when it comes to China, the world's most brutal and most powerful authoritarian regime? Standing here today at Times Square, the world's busiest, the most glamorous, the most shiniest place, I want to ask the world, why is Tibet denied the outrage and urgency extended to other occupied and oppressed people? Are Tibetan lives worth less? Is our nation less deserving of freedom? And it gives me no pleasure but to call on the world with shame. Shame to everyone in the world who choose silence. And I tell them, you are not neutral. You have chosen China's power over colonialized lives. History will record your silence for what it is, a complicity to China's occupation and genocide in Tibet. Your silence is no longer ignorance. Your silence is violence, and your hands are filled with blood along with the blood of the Chinese regime. They say that Tibetans are peace-loving people. But even Tibetans have a breaking point. We are angry, we are frustrated, and we're exhausted. But do not mistake our non-violence for weakness. Do not mistake our patience for surrender. We are peaceful people but we are not defeated people. We will commit to Paul Logarangze and all the martyrs to not reduce their sacrifices to photographs, vigils, a tweet, names spoken and then forgotten. We will carry forward the struggle and demand for everything that they gave their life to end China's occupation and restore Tibet's independence. We also know that the world will not hand us our freedom. The United Nations or the US government will not rescue us. And China will never willingly return the country it invaded from us. That responsibility belongs to each and every one of us. We must continue to organize with discipline, speak in unity, and build a movement powerful enough to shake the conscience of this world and shake the foundation of Beijing. So from Times Square, this is our message to Beijing, to the United States, and every leader who chooses to choose silence. Tibet has not surrendered. Tibet has not surrendered, will not surrender, and will never surrender. And as long as one Tibetan, one single Tibetan remains on this planet, the Tibetan nation and the Tibetan movement will continue. And with that, I will pray for the I pray for the long life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, and to commit to our promise to bring him back to the Potala Palace and reunite him with our siblings in a free and independent Tibet. Puranze! Puranze Galo! Puranze! Puranze Galo! Puranze! Puranze Galo!
That is our brother. Man. That is a Tibetan. That is a Tibetan.
Next, I request Tenzin Namgyala, North America grassroots coordinator of Student for Free Tibet, will present a silent die-in visual action, a tribute to the ultimate sacrifice of Paul Logarangzen, then followed by long show by activism.
Hello, I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but we're gonna ask as many people who can fit inside the center stage, people who have signed up to do the die-in. If you're signed up to do the die-in, you may raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're signed up to do the die-in, and come towards the middle of the stage. Maybe around 40-50 people can fit towards the center. We're attempting to do a photo action, so we're gonna try to take a very powerful photo. We're gonna try to make a photo that's gonna stand for solidarity and for unity. So basically, a die-in is when people lay down flat on the center stage. Okay.
We can let them in.
Lama
dead silent. We need to wake them up, but we gotta wake up first. We gotta take action, be it individual, be it organization. Take initiatives and support the organization taking initiatives. Pagalo! Fist hand